Let's get it. Hard throb never.
Let's talk about disenfranchisement. For this particular one, we'll focus on educational disenfranchisement from a personal experience, as an American black person. So, long story short, first grade, I remember having well, first off, in elementary school, all of your subjects are all in one class. You don't change classes or nothing like that. So you go from one subject to the next in one classroom. But I remember having a particular issue understanding the clock, like the what time it was on an analog clock on the wall. And now, as an adult, I remember the problem was, they was teaching us money and teaching us, that a dollar is 4 quarters and that whole deal. So anyway, my problem was I understood like the 5 after 1 minute after that whole deal. I understood the second hands, the minute, all of that. But when it got to like the quarter after thing, me as a kid, I'm thinking that it's 25 at the 25-minute mark instead of the 15-minute mark. Not understanding that the clock was split into four sections of 15 minutes, which would make it a quarter after. But I wasn't getting that concept, and I wasn't getting it because they weren't explaining it. You see? And so to further kind of what I'm talking about, I remember also in the first grade, there would be these like extra teachers that would come around. And at a certain time of the day, they would take a handful of students out and they would be gone for a few hours and bring them back. But at this time, I'm one of like only 3 black kids in the classroom. So all I know is, they come every day and take them and they go on for a few hours and come back. And I'm like, well, shoot, well, how come I ain't getting to go? But anyway, one day they bring the kids back and this little girl, this little white girl, she's like, here, let me show you what they taught us today. And come to find out, they was teaching them advanced mathematics and advanced cursive. Now, she wasn't supposed to tell me about it, but as a child, she just, wanting to show what she had learned. So when she tried to show me, the teacher was like, no, we'll we're not going to do that. We're doing this. And as a kid, I'm not really thinking nothing about it. But years later, when I graduated from high school and I'm ready to go to college, but I was working this job in a factory for the summer to make some money. And I'm working at this place, and one of the guys is working in there with me. He's a white guy. I went to school with him, and his dad was a principal. So I was just kind of thinking about that situation, and I ran it down to him. And, after I explained it to him, I said, well, man, maybe I'm just tripping, you know what I'm saying? And when I looked up from putting the parts together at the, the little factory parts, I looked up and he was just kind of looking at me like, but he was kind of pale. Like, I said, what's wrong with you? And he was like, man, nah. He said, you ain't tripping. I said, what you mean? He said, you ain't tripping, man. He said, because I was one of the ones that they took out of the classroom and they taught us advanced mathematics and told us not to tell nobody. I was like, wow. But he was visibly shook. Like, you could tell that there are some white people who they had no idea that these types of things were being done. Now, that's not that's not making an excuse, but it never occurred to him that might be a situation that was going on. But he flat out said, man, he said, no, you ain't tripping, man. He said, because I was one of the ones that they took out and they was teaching us advanced mathematics and told us not to tell nobody. And so to further that, I remember when I started college, I took a math test Now, mind you, because of this first grade and third grade situation with my math learning, I kind of developed a math anxiety. So math has always been my weakest subject. Like I can do the math, but I had this anxiety about it. Not so much now, but then I did. So, but took this math test in college. When I turned the test in, I'm thinking I did straight on the test. But when I get the test back, the results, all my shit marked wrong. I'm like, what the hell? And so I'm looking at, my paper marked up, red marks everywhere. So I'm like, go to the professor, like, yo, what's up with my test? Like, why all my shit wrong? Like, this answer is right, and boom, 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 boom. And this joker had the nerve to say, okay, yeah, we do that sometimes to make sure that you know how to do the work that you actually know how to do the math. This is what he said. And so I'm looking at him and I said to him, like, so if I hadn't checked with you about the correctness of my test, I'd have just had a bad grade. He just had this look on his face. So needless to say, I ended up dropping that particular math class and got with another one. But this is the type of thing that I'm trying to stress that American black people have had to go through. And this just is an educational disenfranchisement. I'll do some more about credit disenfranchisement, housing, employment, all these sectors. That there are these things that people from other ethnic groups would do to you, to slow your progress and actually discourage you from trying to further what you're doing in that particular area. So what was it? It was something else I was going to say. So, but back to the whole math or education disenfranchisement. By the third grade, I remember struggling with math at this point, because at this point we're doing like fractions. But if you think about the clock thing that, that's supposed to be preparing you for the fraction thing, but they didn't explain it. And, when they were supposed to explain it in the first grade, they weren't explaining it the right way. So by the third grade, I'm struggling with math, and the particular math, it wasn't the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or any other stuff. It was fractions specifically. Like I didn't understand the fractions, and they weren't explaining it at all. So it was like leaving these gaps in the understanding with the math. And when I got older, when I finished my own college degree, I had focused on, that was an area that I focused on for my, one of my college projects, which was, I was saying that there was a definite implemented systemic problem with American black children, specifically American black boys, struggling with math. And that problem started in the third grade, and it started specifically with the subject of fractions. Because the fractions, if you don't have the fraction part down, you're going to struggle with the algebra. You're going to struggle even with the geometry and everything else if you don't have that fraction foundation. So, but what I had concluded based on my personal experience is that with the disenfranchisement that they did with the American black males at that time with mathematics, we were having these gaps in our knowledge, and our performance was failing. Not that we couldn't do it, is that they were deliberately not explaining it. And so I remember a whole lot of American black male children failed the third grade. And those that didn't fail, by the time they got to the sixth grade, with needing that core and foundational understanding of fractions and certain things within your mathematics, by the sixth grade, and myself was included in this, by the sixth grade, over half of the American black males in the 6th grade failed the 6th grade and had to repeat it because of our low math scores. Now, as a child, I'm not really thinking about it then, but when I got older and started reflecting and being able to qualitatively and quantitatively deduct and use reasoning to figure out what it was, and I know definitely what the issues were. And it was a outright effort to diminish the scholastic performance of American black children, period. Not just boys, but girls too. So this is a type of a disenfranchisement. And all it says to me is that this was a clear fear of wanting to compete with the ethnic group that everybody's saying is incapable. Although they have been proven wrong time after time about this particular thing. So the educational disenfranchisement of American blacks is just one example. I'm trying to think of another example real time here. What else happened? What else was there that happened? There was no, I can't really use that one. That was in regards to English, which was well, a pretty easy subject for me. But what else was it? Well, this ain't necessarily a disenfranchisement, but I remember we had to take this science test in the 6th grade, and at this time it was maybe like 5 or 6 black male children in there, and I'm one of them, or black male students in there, I'm one of them, and we took the test, turned it in, and when we get the test back a few days later, me and the other black boys in the class, we had scored the highest on the test in the classroom. And so this is what the science teacher did. He made everybody leave and made us take the test again, to ensure that we hadn't cheated on the test because we had outperformed everybody else in the classroom. You see, it's this type of thing, like little things that a lot of people don't really get to necessarily know about because it's not discussed. But we're going to start discussing all this shit. And y'all need to stop hiding and acting like these things haven't happened. Y'all need to leave comments and share your story about if the shit actually went down. If it didn't, all right. But I know what happened to me and some of my classmates. That's just one example of disenfranchisement on a elementary level. No pun intended. But that's it. I'm out.
Throb never.